If you have been practicing the law of assumption, if you have been living in the end and suddenly everything in your physical reality starts falling apart, do not panic. You are probably weeks or even days away from massive wealth. There is a terrifying phenomenon that nobody in the manifestation community warns you about. The 3D reality will always do one specific, aggressive thing right before your desires materialize. Today, I am going to issue a severe warning. I am going to reveal exactly what this final test looks like, why your reality gets worse before it gets better, and the one dangerous mistake that will reset your progress back to zero. If you are currently facing a mountain of bad news and you need to know how to survive the final test of the 3D, take a moment to subscribe to this channel right now. We are about to decode the extinction burst of poverty. Let us deeply examine the absolute madness of what the modern manifestation community has asked you to do. You are sitting at your kitchen table. You have a stack of bills in front of you. The physical, three-dimensional fact is that you do not currently have the physical cash to pay them. Your nervous system is reacting to this physical threat. Your cortisol levels are rising. Your chest is tight. And in the middle of this biological panic, you try to apply what you learned on the internet. You close your eyes, you force a fake smile onto your face, and you say out loud, "I am so wealthy, I love my bills, money flows to me easily." What do you honestly think is happening inside your brain in that exact moment? Do you think your subconscious mind believes you? Absolutely not. Your subconscious mind is looking at your forced smile, feeling your racing heart, and it is screaming at you. It is calling you a liar. By trying to force a positive emotion over a terrifying physical fact, you are creating massive internal friction. You are creating a state of internal warfare. And in the law of assumption, friction is resistance. Resistance is the heavy iron wall that blocks your wealth. When you try to lie to your brain will always win. You cannot out-affirm a terrified nervous system. You cannot trick the creator within you. This is why you feel so incredibly exhausted after doing your manifestation techniques. You are not manifesting. You are just fighting with physical reality. And reality is a heavyweight champion that will knock you out every single time if you try to fight it on its own physical terms. The physical world is hard, it is dense, and it is completely unresponsive to your fake smiles and your forced gratitude. To break out of this exhausting cycle, we have to look at the teachings of the great mystic Neville Goddard. Neville never told his students to be delusional. He never told them to walk into physical traffic and pretend the cars were not there. Neville taught a profound, razor-sharp distinction that separates the amateur manifester from the true master. He taught the absolute difference between a physical fact and a spiritual truth. If you do not deeply understand this exact difference, you will spend the rest of your life as a slave to your external circumstances. You will continue to react to the mirror instead of changing the reflection. So, what is a physical fact? A fact is the current observable state of the three-dimensional world. It is the number printed on your bank statement today. It is the eviction notice on your door. It is the rejection letter from the employer. These are facts. They are real in the physical sense. You can touch them, you can see them, and they have physical consequences. But here is the ultimate mind-bending secret of the universe. A fact is not the truth. A fact is temporary. A fact is dead matter. A fact is simply the final physical manifestation of an assumption you held in your mind weeks, months, or years ago. The truth, on the other hand, is eternal. The truth is your divine imagination. The truth is the state of being you consciously choose to occupy right now in this very second. The fundamental error that keeps humanity trapped in poverty is that they give physical facts the ultimate weight of spiritual truth. They look at the zero in their bank account, which is just a temporary physical fact, and they internalize it as a truth about their core identity. They say to themselves, "I have no money today. Therefore, I am a poor person." They let the dead physical evidence dictate the living spiritual identity. They surrender their crown to a piece of paper. I want you to imagine a powerful movie projector casting a film onto a large blank wall. The projector represents your powerful subconscious mind. The film running through the machine represents your deep internal assumptions, and the movie playing on the wall represents your physical 3D reality. Right now, the movie playing on your wall is a tragedy about financial struggle and debt. You are looking at the wall and you hate the movie. But what are you doing to change it? You are walking up to the physical wall and you are trying to scratch the images off the paint with your fingernails. You are yelling at the wall. You are crying at the wall. You are pasting sticky notes with positive affirmations directly onto the wall, desperately hoping the movie will change. My friend, the wall has absolutely no power. The images on the wall are just light and shadow. They cannot change themselves. You are arguing with a shadow. When Neville Goddard told you to ignore the 3D, he was telling you to stop scratching the wall. He was telling you to turn your back to the physical wall, walk over to the projector and simply change the film. When you look at your empty bank account, you are looking at the wall. You do not need to pretend the account is full. You do not need to fake a smile. You simply need to look at it and say, "This is a fact, but it is not the truth. This is just the shadow of my past thinking." You acknowledge the physical presence of the shadow, but you completely and ruthlessly strip it of its authority. You do not let the shadow tell you who you are. This is the massive difference between toxic positivity and true spiritual detachment. Toxic positivity looks at the empty bank account and says, "Wow, look at all this invisible money. I am so happy. Everything is perfect." True detachment looks at the exact same empty bank account and says, "The account is empty today. That is fine. It does not matter because I am the operant power and I have already changed the film in the projector." Do you feel the profound relief in that second statement? There is no lying. There is no forced emotion. There is only a cold, calculated recognition of where true power actually lives. You stop reacting to the physical world because you finally realize the physical world is completely dead. It is an echo. It is a shadow, and a master never bows down to a shadow. Now that you deeply understand that the physical world is nothing more than a shadow cast by your past assumptions, we must address the single most agonizing part of the manifestation process. We must address the delay. We must talk about the terrifying gap of time between the moment you change your internal state and the moment the physical world finally catches up and reflects that new wealth back to you. This gap is where 99% of people fail. This is the exact place where they lose their faith, where they panic, and where they fall right back into the toxic cycle of reacting to the physical facts. But right now, I am going to give you the second massive reward of our time together. I'm going to give you a logical framework that will completely destroy your impatience and cure your anxiety forever. I want to introduce you to the theory of the dead star. Imagine you step outside on a clear, dark night, and you look up at the sky. You see thousands of brilliant shining stars. Your physical eyes are telling you a very convincing story. Your eyes are telling you that those stars are actively burning right now, in this exact moment, right above your head. But if you ask an astronomer, they will tell you a completely different truth. They will tell you that light takes time to travel through the vast emptiness of space. The light from some of those stars took millions of years to reach your physical eyes. The staggering, mind-bending truth is that many of the stars you are looking at right now do not actually exist anymore. They burned out, died, and collapsed into dust millions of years ago. But because of the massive distance, the light of their death has not reached you yet. You are looking up at the sky, mesmerized by the light of a dead star. You are staring at a ghost. You are looking at a history lesson, not a live event. I need you to take this exact physical law of the universe and apply it directly to your bank account today. The three-dimensional reality you are currently experiencing, the lack of money, the stressful job, the mountain of debt, it is all the light of a dead star. It is the delayed physical reflection of the person you used to be weeks, months, or even years ago. When you were living in a state of fear, when you were constantly worrying about how you were going to survive, you were emitting a specific frequency. You were shining a specific light into the quantum field. Neville Goddard taught us that every seed has its own appointed hour. There is a necessary interval of time between the planting of the seed and the harvesting of the crop. The poverty you are experiencing today is simply the harvest of the fearful seeds you planted in your past. So when you wake up this morning and you finally assume the state of wealth, when you finally change the film in the projector and step into the identity of the person who has everything they desire, your physical reality does not instantly transform in a puff of smoke. The old light is still traveling towards you. The old film is still finishing its final scene on the wall. The physical evidence of your past poverty is still arriving at your doorstep. And this is exactly where you must become a master. When the unexpectedly high bill arrives in the mail, or when you check your balance and see a terrifyingly low number, you do not panic. You do not try to force a fake smile. You do not try to lie to yourself and pretend the bill is not there. You look at the bill, you hold it in your physical hands, and you say to yourself, "This is the light of a dead star. This is the echo of a conversation I had with myself a long time ago." Think about how an echo works. If you stand at the edge of a massive canyon and you shout the words, "I am broke," the sound waves travel across the vast distance, hit the rock wall, and begin the long journey back to your ears. A few seconds later, you hear the canyon shout back at you, "I am broke." Now imagine that immediately after you shout those words, you change your mind. You decide to shout, "I am wealthy." What happens? Does the canyon instantly shout, "I am wealthy"? No. You still have to wait for the first echo to return. You still have to stand there and listen to the canyon yell, "I am broke," before the new echo can finally arrive. If you do not understand the physics of an echo, you will panic. You will hear the canyon say that you are broke, and you will think that your new manifestation did not work. You will think that the universe is broken, or that you are doing the techniques wrong. You will get frustrated, and out of pure terror you will shout, "Why am I still broke?" And in doing so, you have just created a brand new echo of poverty that will eventually return to hit you in the face. But when you understand the time delay, you become completely untouchable. You shout your new truth into the void, "I am wealthy." And when the old echo of poverty returns and hits your ears, you simply smile. You do not fight it. You do not argue with the canyon. You just calmly recognize that you are listening to a dead voice. You sit in absolute silence, waiting with perfect, unwavering confidence, because you know with mathematical certainty that the new echo is already traveling toward you, and it has no choice but to arrive. This profound understanding naturally brings us to the most practical, urgent question of your everyday life. If your current reality is just a dead star and a fading echo, how are you supposed to actually live in it? How do you go to a job that you absolutely despise, work for 8 hours, deal with rude customers, pay exorbitant prices for groceries, and still maintain the internal state of a multi-millionaire? How do you interact with the physical world without absorbing the toxic energy of the physical world? To achieve this, you must adopt the actor's detachment. You must treat your three-dimensional reality like a movie set, and you must treat yourself like an Academy Award-winning actor. I want you to imagine the highest paid, most successful, most glamorous actor in Hollywood. This actor lives in a $50 million mansion in Beverly Hills. They drive luxury cars, they fly on private jets, and they never have to look at a price tag. Now, imagine this actor accepts a role in a gritty, dark, depressing, independent film. In this movie, the actor plays the role of a desperate, impoverished person living on the streets, begging for food, and struggling to survive every single day. When the director yells action, the actor steps onto the set. They put on dirty, torn clothes. They rub dirt on their face. They deliver their lines with agonizing sorrow. They cry real tears. They interact with the physical props of poverty. They are fully immersed in the physical action of the scene. But I want you to ask yourself a very important question. While that actor is sitting on the fake street corner, wearing dirty clothes and pretending to be completely broke, is their actual heart rate spiking with financial panic? Are they genuinely terrified about how they are going to pay their mortgage? Are they internally suffering from the fear of starvation? Of course not. They are completely detached. They are executing the physical actions required by the script, but their internal identity remains completely untouched. They know exactly who they are. They know that this dirty street corner is just a temporary set built out of wood and paint. They know that as soon as the director yells cut, they are going to take off the costume, wash their face, step into their luxury car, and drive back to their mansion. Their physical circumstances in the scene have absolutely zero authority over their internal state of being. This is exactly how you must operate in your daily life starting today. You are the wealthy actor, and your current three-dimensional reality is just the gritty movie set you are temporarily working on. You have already assumed the state of wealth in your imagination. You already own the mansion in the quantum field. But the director has not yelled cut on the old scene yet. The old film is still rolling. So what do? You play your part with perfect cold detachment. You wake up, you put on your work uniform, you drive your old car through traffic, and you walk into the job you hate. You do the work. You swipe your debit card to pay for your groceries. You handle your physical responsibilities. You do not act delusional. You do not tell your boss that you are a secret billionaire and quit your job prematurely. You just quietly play the role of the person working the job, but internally, you are entirely somewhere else. While your physical hands are typing on the keyboard at work, your internal mind is resting in the profound peace of the Sabbath. While you are physically paying a difficult bill, you are not clenching your jaw in anxiety. You are paying it with the casual, careless indifference of an actor using fake prop money. You are completely untethered from the emotional gravity of the situation. You look around at your small apartment, your old car, and your empty bank account, and you simply whisper to yourself, "This is not my real life. This is just the costume I am wearing for the rest of the scene. The scene is almost over, the old echo is almost gone, and my real life of absolute abundance is waiting for me in the dressing room." When you achieve this level of the actor's detachment, the physical world completely loses its grip on you. You become invisible to the stress, immune to the panic, and totally unaffected by the temporary facts. You stop lying to yourself with toxic positivity, and you replace it with supreme, quiet authority. You are in the world, but you are absolutely not of the world. You will need this actor's detachment desperately, because as I warned you at the beginning of this video, the 3D is preparing a final, terrifying attack right before you get rich. But before I show you exactly what that attack looks like, you must understand why you currently fail it. But I must be completely honest with you. As beautiful and as logical as this philosophy is, I know exactly what happens when you try to apply it. I know the dark secret that prevents you from actually playing the role of the detached actor. Intellectually, your brain understands everything I am saying. Your logical mind agrees that the 3D is just an echo. But when you actually open that banking app, when you actually see the negative balance, your intellect completely shuts down and your physical body takes over. Your heart begins to pound against your ribs. Your breathing becomes shallow and erratic. Your stomach ties itself into a painful knot. A wave of heat rushes over your skin. In that terrifying moment, you cannot just tell yourself that it is a dead star. You cannot just pretend to be an actor on a movie set. Why? Because your physical body is not a philosopher. Your physical body is a biological survival machine. Millions of years of human evolution have hardwired your nervous system to scan the environment for deadly threats. When a primitive human saw a tiger in the bushes, their nervous system flooded their body with cortisol and adrenaline, forcing them into a state of fight or flight. Today, the tiger in the bushes has been replaced by the zero in your bank account. When you look at your lack of money, your nervous system does not see a spiritual illusion. It sees a literal threat to your physical survival. It thinks you are going to starve. It thinks you are going to be cast out of the tribe and die in the wilderness. Your body literally hijacks your manifestation. It forcefully drags your consciousness out of the wealthy imagination and slams it violently back into the terrifying physical 3D reality. You cannot outthink a dysregulated nervous system. You cannot use a mental affirmation to stop a biological panic attack. If you want to successfully ignore the 3D without lying to yourself, you must first convince your physical animal body that it is safe to look away from the threat. You must manually reach into your biological hardware and turn off the survival alarm. Until you do this, your body will constantly pull you back to the wall, forcing you to scratch at the shadows in a state of pure panic. You have to learn how to speak the language of your cells. You have to learn how to flush the stress hormones out of your bloodstream so that your mind can finally relax and hold the assumption of wealth. Your intellect is ready to rule the kingdom, but your body is still cowering in the trenches. Because this biological barrier is the single greatest obstacle to manifestation, I have provided a specific, powerful resource for you. I have placed a link in the pinned comment below this video. It is a detailed protocol for nervous system regulation, designed specifically to pull your physical body out of the fight or flight response. It is the missing mechanical bridge between knowing the spiritual truth and actually feeling safe enough to live in it. When you use this protocol to calm the storm in your nervous system, the actor's detachment becomes completely effortless. You will open your banking app, see the negative number, and your heart rate will not even change. You will look at the dead star, and you will simply smile because your body finally knows that you are perfectly safe. Once your physical body is finally regulated, once you have manually turned off the biological survival alarm that keeps you trapped in a state of panic, You are entirely ready to receive the third massive reward of our time together today. You are ready to shatter the most pervasive, exhausting, and damaging myth in the entire modern manifestation community. This is the myth of high vibrations. Every single day you are bombarded with the message that you must be happy all the time. You are told that you must constantly feel an overwhelming, explosive sense of joy and gratitude for your physical reality, even when your physical reality is actively falling apart. You are taught that if you feel sad, or if you feel indifferent, you will instantly attract more poverty. This toxic ideology has turned manifestation into a relentless, exhausting emotional performance. It has made you terrified of your own natural human emotions. But I am here to give you the ultimate permission to stop performing. I am here to reveal a profound secret about the nature of wealth that the fake gurus do not understand. You do not need to love your current three-dimensional reality. You do not need to force yourself to feel a deep, passionate affection for your unpaid bills or your empty bank account. You only need to achieve one specific, powerful, emotional state regarding your current reality. You need to become completely and utterly bored by it. I want you to think about this very carefully, because this represents a massive paradigm shift. Neutrality is the new happy. Neutrality is the ultimate shortcut to massive wealth. Think about the wealthiest person you can possibly imagine. Imagine a multi-billionaire walking into a coffee shop and buying a $5 cup of coffee. When that billionaire swipes their black credit card, do they feel a sudden, explosive wave of joy and gratitude? Do they jump up and down, vibrating at a high frequency because they were able to afford the coffee? Absolutely not. They feel absolutely nothing. They are entirely neutral. Purchasing that coffee is the most boring, mundane, insignificant event of their day. They are completely indifferent to the transaction because the wealth is so natural to them that it does not even register on their emotional radar. Their internal state regarding that money is absolute flat neutrality. Now look at how you handle your money. When you have a stack of bills to pay, you do not approach them with neutrality. You approach them with extreme emotional charge. If you hate the bills, if you feel intense resentment and anger toward the companies you owe money to, you are feeding that situation with a massive amount of your vital creative energy. In the quantum field, your hatred acts as a superglue. The more you hate your debt, the more you anchor the debt into your physical reality. But the opposite is also true, and this is where the toxic positivity trap catches you. If you try to force yourself to love your debt, if you try to sit there and aggressively affirm how happy you are to be broke, you are still feeding the situation with a massive amount of emotional energy. You are just using a different flavor of glue. You are still treating the lack of money as a highly significant, monumental event. Whether you passionately hate the 3D, or you force yourself to passionately love the bad 3D, you are still giving the 3D the ultimate authority over your emotional state. You are still making the shadow on the wall the center of your universe. Neville Goddard spoke of a state called the Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a day of the week where you go to church. The Sabbath is the psychological state of absolute rest. It is the profound realization that the work of creation is completely finished. When you are in the Sabbath, you do not fight the 3D and you do not praise the 3D. You just ignore it through pure, unadulterated boredom. When a difficult physical circumstance arises, when a client cancels a contract, or when an unexpected expense drains your account, you look at it with the cold, flat indifference of someone watching a movie they have already seen 100 times. You say to yourself, "Oh, look, another echo. Oh, look, another dead star. How incredibly boring." You do not give it a single drop of your emotional energy. You completely starve the negative reality of the attention it needs to survive. And in the vacuum created by your absolute neutrality, the new reality of wealth, the reality you have already assumed in your imagination, is instantly magnetically pulled into the physical world to fill the empty space. When there is no emotional friction, the universe rearranges physical matter with terrifying speed. This brings us to the ultimate warning of this video. This is exactly what the 3D will do right before you get rich. The moment you finally stop scratching the wall, the moment you drop the toxic positivity and truly step into the detached authority of the actor, the three-dimensional world is going to launch one final desperate attack against you. In psychology, this phenomenon is known as an extinction burst. When you stop rewarding a specific behavior, that behavior does not just quietly disappear. Before it dies completely, it violently escalates. It gets much worse before it vanishes. Your physical reality operates on this exact same psychological principle. When your old reality of poverty realizes that it is losing its grip on you, when it realizes that you are no longer feeding it with your fear, your anxiety, or your forced gratitude, it will throw a massive physical tantrum. It will try to force you to react. This is the ultimate test of the 3D. This is the final exam before your massive wealth is delivered. You will be sitting in your absolute neutrality, resting in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, and suddenly, out of nowhere, the worst possible physical news will arrive. Your car transmission will completely fail. You will get a letter from the tax authority demanding a massive payment. Your boss will threaten to fire you. A client will refuse to pay a large invoice. The physical world will present you with a scenario so terrifying, so overwhelmingly negative, that it will seem absolutely impossible to ignore. This is the bridge of incidents taking its final, agonizing breath. This is the universe, or more accurately, your own subconscious mind, holding a mirror up to your face and asking you one final question. It is asking you, are you absolutely sure that you are the wealthy person you claim to be? Let us find out. How you react in this exact moment determines your entire financial future. If you look at the broken car or the angry letter, and you break down in tears if you call your friends to complain about your terrible luck, if you fall to your knees and start begging the universe to fix your life, you have failed the test. You have looked at the shadow on the wall and you have bowed down to it. You have confirmed to your subconscious mind that the physical facts still have absolute authority over your spiritual truth. And because of that reaction, you will instantly reload the old program of poverty, and the cycle of suffering will begin all over again. But what does the master do? What does the student of Neville Goddard do when the final terrifying test of the 3D arrives? The master looks at the broken-down car. The master reads the aggressive letter demanding money. And the master does the most powerful, dangerous, and rebellious thing a human being can possibly do. The master smiles. It is not a fake smile. It is not the desperate, trembling smile of toxic positivity. It is a cold, knowing, arrogant smirk. It is the smile of someone who has just caught a magician trying to perform a cheap trick. When the worst physical news arrives, you look directly at it, and you say to it in your mind, I know exactly what you are. You are the final death rattle of my old life. You are the extinction burst of my poverty. You are a dead star trying to burn me, but you have absolutely no heat. You are a shadow on the wall, trying to intimidate the projector. You have absolutely no authority over me. I am the operant power of this universe, and I refuse to negotiate with ghosts. You turn your back on the physical crisis. You do not ignore it by failing to take necessary physical action. If you need to sign a paper, you sign it. If you need to make a phone call, you make it. But you do it with the absolute emotional detachment of the wealthy actor. You perform the physical motion while your internal state remains firmly seated on the throne of your imagination. You maintain your crushing neutrality. You refuse to give the crisis your fear. And when you pass this final test, when you prove to the quantum field that your internal assumption of wealth is infinitely stronger than the physical illusion of lack, the old reality shatters into a million pieces. The resistance collapses, the old film burns up in the projector, and your new reality of overflowing, effortless abundance crashes into your physical world with an unstoppable, undeniable force. You are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are no longer a beggar hoping for a positive reflection in the mirror. You are the master of the simulation. You now possess the true, mechanical understanding of what it means to actually ignore the 3D. You do not ignore the physical world because you are blind to it. You do not ignore it because you are delusional or because you are trying to lie to yourself. You ignore the three-dimensional reality out of pure, unquestionable superiority. A king does not argue with a peasant. A creator does not argue with his creation. You ignore the 3D because you finally recognize that it is completely unworthy of your emotional reaction. You have survived the final warning. The extinction burst of your old life is over. You now know exactly what the 3D does right before you get rich, and you know how to smile right in its face. You are no longer terrified of the echoes. You have eaten the forbidden fruit of absolute responsibility, and you are ready to take total control. But to solidify this new reality, to make this profound psychological shift a permanent fixture in your physical world, you must take one final action. You must anchor this new identity right now. I want you to step out of the shadows and declare your new law to the universe. Scroll down to the comments section right now and type these exact words. The 3D is my past. I am the future. Type it with absolute conviction. Do not type it as a desperate hope. Type it as a cold, undeniable fact. Let the physical act of typing those words be the final nail in the coffin of your old reality. The 3D is my past. I am the future. The echo is fading. The new light has arrived. Go collect your kingdom.